Well, if you've known me very long, you know my friend Lem Parsons is regularly the cause of either a headache, backache, or a heartache for me. But on one occasion, many years ago, I was the one to blame for the problems, and it nearly cost me my friendship with Lem. You see, there's an old feller out in the country by the name of Mr. Race Walker, and Mr. Race Walker had 500 acres of some of the most beautiful oak and hickory timber you've ever seen. When we'd get a little rain, that river bottom would flood. And when that river bottom would flood, the greenhead mallards would hear about it, and they'd come from 100 miles in every direction. So me and old Lem would go out there and get after them. Well, one year, me and old Lem took that $20 canoe of mine out there. I dropped him off at a place we called the Hickory Hump. It was a little high spot at the end of that river bend. He didn't have no rubber boots because he hadn't worked for the volunteer fire department yet, and so all he had was some old leather work boots. One of them didn't even have a lace that went to the top. I said, Lem, don't go nowhere now, son. I'll be back. He said, Robert, ain't nowhere to go anyway. I said, I know. I'll be back 30 minutes. So I floated off down the creek, got all the way to the other end of that bend, and never saw a duck. I took off out across the bottom and got out in there, and Lord of mercy, greenhead mallards started getting up by the hundreds. If they was one duck in that bottom, there's 5,000. They circling around over the trees, flying in and landing right next to my boat. So I started working on them, and by the time I crossed that bottom, I had 4 greenhead mallards and 2 wood duck drakes. That's the first time in my life I'd ever killed a limit. I was so excited, I said, I got to get back and tell them about this. So I floated on over to the other side of that bottom and hit the creek channel. Right as I hit the channel and started heading back toward Lem, he started shooting. He shot 3 shots, just bam, bam, bam. Now, what you got to understand is, Lem only had a single-shot shotgun. But old Lem could shoot 3 shots faster than anybody else in the county. What he'd do is he'd put one in his barrel, and he'd put one in his left hand, and then he'd hold one in his mouth. Well, old Lem shot 3 shots. I thought, well, all right, Lem, get him. Then he shot 3 more. I said, Lem's going to get him a mess. And then he shot 3 more. And 3 more. So I pulled the boat off to the side and thought, well, if Lem's getting in them like that, I'm just going to wait. I don't want to mess it up for him. So I sat there by the creek bank for a while. When Lem quit shooting, I went ahead and floated on down the river. Went paddling out to the bottom. When I got over there, I said, Lem, son, how come you're standing in knee-deep water? Why didn't you stay on the Hickory Hump like I told you? He said, God dang it, Robert, I am on the Hickory Hump. He said, this river's come up more than 4 feet since you left me. I said, well, Lem, I've only been gone 30 minutes. He said, the heck you have. You've been gone over 3 hours. I said, well, Lem, I'm awful sorry. He said, I don't want your apology. You just got to get me to the bank. I said, well, what's the problem? He said, I got to go to the bathroom right now. I said, well, Lem, why didn't you just take care of your business out here? He said, well, I didn't have any boxer shorts on to wipe with. I said, well, couldn't you use your socks? He said, my socks are soaking wet. I said, well, you've used your shirt on many occasions. He said, well, this is my good Sunday shirt because my other shirt still smells like a skunk. I said, well, Lem, I'm awful sorry. He said, the only thing I'm sorry about is that I didn't save one of them shotgun shells. I said, well, what'd you spend them on? He said, I was trying to send you Morse code, let you know that I needed to go to the bathroom. I said, well, then what would you have saved that one shell for? And he said, I'd have saved it to put you out of my misery. Somehow he forgave me. We made it all back up. We've been friends ever since. But Lem ain't never let me drop him off at the Hickory Hump since then.